Welcome back to the garage. Or if you're new to the channel and this is the first video of mine that you've seen, welcome to the garage. My name is Zane. Now there's a lot of stuff on my to-do list to try to get caught up before winter time, but I cannot thank you all enough for taking a special interest into this project that's sitting behind me. This is my 1968 International Travelette. It belonged to my dad, who sold it over 25 years ago, and I was lucky enough to randomly run across it one day, buy it back, and bring it back into my family. Now whenever I bought this truck, I was told that the engine was stuck. I done a little bit of investigating, and I thought that the engine wasn't, but it turns out that the engine is stuck in this truck, so sometimes it's good to listen to the previous owner. Maybe they are telling the truth. But anyways, there's a lot of work to get done on this truck. It's Friday, I took off work, so I've got Friday and Saturday in hopes to work on this and get a video out to you all on Sunday. Will it happen? Probably not. But with a little bit of luck, I might be able to accomplish what I'm hoping to do. There's a lot of work to get done, so let me set the camera up and we'll get to work. I think the first thing that I'm going to do and get out of the way before it gets too warm outside is I'm going to slide underneath the truck, take the Sawzall, and cut the rotten exhaust off of this truck. It's pretty much hanging by a thread anyway. It's rusted out. I can't use it. So I'll go ahead and get it out of the way. That way I can focus on the top of the engine when the sun starts to poke its head out. So let me get down here and make quick work of this, hopefully. I wanted to show you a close-up on how rough this exhaust is. That was just stuck inside. See how rusted out that flange is? Not like this stuff was brand new, so it's best to just get it out of the way and continue on with the process. It's not a proper engine swap video unless you run antifreeze down into your armpit. Looks like I need to remove the fan blades before I can take the fan shroud off of this engine. No big deal. I just thought I'd throw this in there. That it's pretty amazing this is still surviving on this truck. A lot of the time somebody will swap a radiator in and out, get tired of messing with something like this, and throw the shroud in the scrap pile, It's nice to have. There's no damage to it. You can see where it's notched for the upper radiator hose. So it's one nice piece that I can still use on this truck or another project. So let me set the camera up and we'll get the fan blades off of here. That's what's nice about having this cheap flex head ratchet. I don't have to use an extension. I can just index this head and use it like it is. This is a Cobalt brand. It's not very expensive, but I've used this for almost 2 years now. It's a fantastic tool. Just wanted to throw that out there. Some of their tools aren't too bad. I'm very lucky also that the rubber mount came off the bottom side of this cross member. I've seen a lot of guys have trouble with this, but mine came out very easily. I'm removing this oil filter housing because I believe when I go to pull the engine out of this truck, all it's going to do is slide forward and get stuck in this cross member. So I figured I might as well get it out of the way right now so I don't have a headache whenever I've got this engine about halfway out of the truck. This lower front engine cross member luckily unbolts out of this frame. I keep looking at this, seeing I've got enough room between the cross member and the oil pan, but whenever I go to remove this engine from the input shaft, I think it's going to be better to just take this cross member and unbolt it, get it out of the way, so I don't have another headache. Okay, so let's go over the pros and cons checklist. The pros, I've got the engine completely disconnected. All the bolts are out of it, the wiring's all taken care of, the exhaust is cut off of it. The only thing left for me to do is to bolt the engine pull plate on top of the intake and be able to lift it out of here. The con checklist is the fact that my forklift won't start. It either needs the starter completely rebuilt or a new one bought for it. The battery's also bad for it. The backhoe that's usually sitting in the background, you might be able to see back there. My dad used it the other day to do some clearing on a chunk of property, and the power steering went completely out of it. You can even see my brown rollback truck is broke down in the background. Just about everything that I own is broken down at this point, so it looks like, unfortunately, I'm going to have to pull the engine out of this truck with the high lift sitting there. So I got to run down and grab something to eat. I'm going to think on it, but it looks like it's going to have to be pulled out with this high lift. I'm not even sure, in all honesty, if this engine lift plate will fit on this intake. I may have to drill different holes in it. It's the obligatory Ford and Chevy engine plate, so let's see if it'll fit this intake. Well, I take that back. It looks like these bolt holes here will work. So I'll run and grab some grade 8 hardware, put it in here. I don't like using grade 5 whenever I pull an engine out, just in case something broke. So let me get some bolts and I'll bolt this down. Not the best way to do this, I understand. I looked through my grade 8 bolts. I couldn't find one that was the right length, so I stacked some washers on top of this one. I think it'll work for what I'm doing, but it would be ideal to use the proper length hardware. So while the camera batteries are charging, I want to play a guessing game. I want you to guess which one of these idler pulleys is the one that came off of my rollback. Is it this one? Or is it this one? You decide in the comments below. Now, I've honestly never had much use with a high lift when it comes to doing something precise like pulling an engine out of a truck, but I guess I have to make use of the machinery that I have up and going. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of stuff that I need to fix before wintertime rolls around. The forklift is down, the Bobcat is also down, the backhoe's down, and this 977 in the background would be 3 times the overkill for pulling this engine out of the truck. So the TD6 is going to have to work. I'll pull it up front. Might be a lot of starting and stopping with the video since there's no actual brake to put on whenever I'm off of the machine. I'll probably have to block one of the front tracks, but let's set the camera up and see how this goes. I said about not having much use for a high lift for pulling an engine out of a truck?
Said I never had much use for one. Never said I didn't know how to use it.
The engine is still hanging from the bucket of the TD6, so what do you say we go over there, get a breaker bar, and see if it will turn over now that it's out of the truck? I brought the breaker bar down here, you can see it, but I think I may have already found out what's going on. You can see these big fasteners on the back side of the pressure plate. You can see how that one is shiny, like it's been in contact with something. Now there's also been some rodents in here. I'm sure that doesn't help out very much. But let's take that breaker bar and see if this engine will spin over like it is. So off camera, I've actually turned this engine over multiple times. It just seems like anytime this fastener with a scarred up edge gets close to the bottom, something's in a bind in this engine. I don't know what it is, but it's not acting the way that it should. This may be a rainy day project to tear this engine down and just see what's wrong inside of it. Looks like bad news for the engine that came out of here, but at the same time, I'm not worried about that. Just for the simple fact that those of you that watched the previous videos in the series will already know that I've got a replacement engine sitting right over there that's just itching to get bolted in between the frame rails on this Travelette. It's a 345 V8 out of my grandfather's 1977 Lodestar dump truck. So if you think about it, we'll have my dad's old Travelette with the engine powering it out of my grandfather's dump truck, at least for a short time until I tear it apart for phase 2 and build it the way that I want to. But it's pretty neat to think all of the family history wrapped up kind of into one project. There's also another bit of good news. I checked the input shaft on this transmission. It's in neutral right now and it spins freely, so I don't think there's any kind of problem on the inside of the transmission. It doesn't seem like anything's in a bind. I won't know until I actually get an engine in here and move it under its own power if it'll have a problem with the synchronizer or bearing or make any kind of a noise or anything like that. But the throwout bearing spins freely. The clutch fork moves in and out like it should. I also checked the inside of the bell housing and I don't see any spot where it looks like the fastener from that pressure plate on the engine that came out of here came in contact with anything. I can only assume that the previous person that had this truck that swapped the engine must have damaged it whenever they pulled it out of their donor truck. So that's all I can come up with. Unfortunately, this is where I'm going to have to end this video, just for the simple fact that all of the machinery is broken down aside from the TD6. I got the donor engine sitting over here. I want to take it into the garage where I can install the engine in this truck with the overhead crane. And I don't want to use the TD6 and chip up the concrete really bad that's going into my garage. So I'll have to either look at the forklift and fix the starter or replace the battery, find out whatever's wrong with it so I can use it to get the engine into the garage. I pulled the engine out of this truck with the high lift, but I'm not going to press my luck putting the engine back in here. So this is where the video is going to have to stop. I just wanted to take a moment and tell everybody that I greatly appreciate you all taking the time out of your day to watch my videos. It really means a lot. I've got all kinds of kind comments on this project, people thinking that it looks so cool with the military tires that are on it. It's one tough looking old truck, and I'm glad that you all take a special interest into this project that means so much to me and my family. The last video that I actually done on this truck got double the views of any other video that I have ever done in the short amount of time. And one thing that I think is completely amazing is the fact that it went almost a week without a single thumbs down. Now that's not only unheard of for my channel, that's pretty much unheard of for any YouTube channel, so I cannot thank you all enough for that. I greatly appreciate it. I've even had people share my videos on forums about international trucks, and it just means the world to me because I said it a million times before. I never really would have guessed when I started making these videos that anybody would want to watch them, and I'm just shy of 12,000 subscribers. It's an amazing feeling, so thank you for that. But anyways, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment or a question down below. Consider subscribing if this is the kind of content that you're into. And as always, just a friendly reminder that it doesn't matter if you're working on your project in a garage or in your driveway. What matters is that you go out there, you do the job yourself, and you learn more about your project, whatever that project may be. Now that this video's over, how about you go outside and work on something? My name is Zane, and I'll catch you next time.